What do you think it is that draws people who are queer to music or theater or writing or anything that kind of involves that side of the brain?
I think the self-expression side of it, the lack of maybe conformity to it, where again, we've spent our lives having to conform, and then here's an area where we don't have to conform, where we can just tell our truth in a variety of ways. And when we tell our truth, not in an artistic way, unfortunately, has historically, I just want to focus here on the United States here, been met with violence. I'm just thinking of also just with the HIV and AIDS epidemic in the 1980s and how homophobia was so destructive, and how if people are not allowed to be themselves, where people are going to find ways where they can be themselves. And I think arts is a way for folks to do that.
And you make a really salient point about people who are, I guess, the generation right in front of us, or even the two generations in front of us, who would have come of age in the 70s and early 80s, and particularly if they were in big cities, were just wiped out due to HIV and AIDS. And I sort of was on the tail end of that generation, and the fear and the loss, and you got to not only think of the fact that lives were lost, that people passed away, but also that era drove so many people into the closet.
Yes.
Where people ended up going into heteronormative relationships and sort of convincing themselves that this was the way for them to stay out of harm's way. And there are very few queer, bi, trans role models in their 50s, 60s, 70s, because the combination of shame and death just rendered 20 years, 25, 30 years of queer people just sort of like evaporated them or vaporized them.
Yes. And I think also just the trauma of the survivors and the people who spent lives having to bury friends every week, and just how having to carry that. I mean, it's insurmountable.